So in part two of this video, let's call it, I want this and only this. The student who comes to the teacher and basically is only interested in one single thing. They don't want to talk about, discuss making any changes, any background work, anything like that. They only want this one thing and they're not willing to budge on that. This would be, um, in my mind, sort of similar to someone saying, I want to go to Disneyland, and that person doesn't know how to drive. So they go to a driving instructor or something like that. And so the driving instructor tries to tell them, all the rules of the road and explain to them that they'll need a car, um, to take their driving test and to travel anywhere after passing their driving test. And basically, the student in that process gets impatient and kind of mad at the driving instructor because he's telling them that they have to learn the rules to the road, and the student is basically saying, "No, I just want to go to Disneyland." Well, there are alternatives. I mean, you could take a bus. The difference in those two, as far as the analogy goes, would be that learning to drive and getting a decent car and making sure that it's in shape. In other words, no flat tires, or in the case of a trumpet player, an embouchure that's reasonably functional. Um, that's the best way to get there without any distractions or obstructions. Of course, you can catch a bus at the Greyhound station, but it's a lot slower. You make a lot of stops, um, and it's kind of a circuitous route. Um, but if we get frustrated with riding the bus, and I'm gonna say that riding the bus to Disneyland is probably analogous to something like just a person who's going to sign up for an ensemble locally of some kind, whether that's a community group or something at the local junior college or something, and expect that that's going to get them to their goal of being a better player. It's just a ride on the bus. It may head you somewhat in the direction of Disneyland, but it's going to be a very circuitous route. uh, you know, then if the student gets frustrated with the band because it's not moving along quickly enough, it's making too many stops, they get off the bus, during a rest stop, and they start hitchhiking, and they get on, somebody who's hauling chickens on the back of a pickup. Well, they may still get to Disneyland, but now we've really gotten off course. So this is the kind of thing that seems to happen with students and their goals. I'm not saying not to set goals. I'm just saying that we have them in mind and then we hold them lightly and we get to work on what needs to be done, which the teacher, we have to trust in the teacher's advice. We have to follow the teacher's advice. That's why they're there. That's why we've sought this person out, is because of their experience. And we have to have some degree of trust, and especially, willingness and patience for that process to take place. How long will it take? Well, there's no real answers on that. But if we're so fixated on how quickly something's going to happen, it's likely that we're not going to get any work done. So let's set aside, and hold those goals lightly. Set aside the fact that we're anxious about getting something done, and just do the work and see where that takes us. What may happen is your journey to Disneyland, or whatever that might be for you as a player, um, playing in a small group, playing in a chamber ensemble, playing a brass quintet, whatever that is, we'll let that take place along the way. And what might happen is that our goal might change. We might figure out that Disneyland's not actually where we want to go. We want to go to Las Vegas. So that might mean that instead of playing in a brass quintet, we get interested in playing in a big band. And all of this is totally fine. But if we are so fixated on our goals and anxious that they're not happening, we're not going to have the ability to pan out and see any of these other possibilities. So I'm just offering that as a piece of advice to keep in mind as you're moving forward in whatever it is that you're doing. Take care.